Hey English learners, welcome back to English Podcast Lab. I hope you're doing amazing today. My name is Connor, and in today's episode we're going to talk about beginner English listening practice, especially for students who are at the A1 level or close to that level. Now, even if you're not a complete beginner, I still want you to stay until the end of this episode because I'll share something useful for higher level learners as well. So let's begin with a simple question. What does it actually mean to be a beginner in English? A lot of people think being a beginner means you know absolutely nothing. That's not always true. An absolute beginner may know almost zero English, but many learners who call themselves beginners already know basic vocabulary, simple grammar, and common phrases. Maybe you can read simple English. Maybe you can introduce yourself. Maybe you know hundreds of words. But when native speakers talk quickly, everything feels difficult. And that's where many learners struggle. You might understand English words when you read them, but when someone speaks naturally, it suddenly feels confusing. If that sounds like you, this episode is made for you. If you need slow, clear, natural English that helps you improve your listening skills, then you're in the right place. And that's exactly why I create content here on English Podcast Lab. I want learners to hear real English in a way that feels natural but still understandable. Now, here's something very important. You will probably hear words in this episode that you don't understand, and that's completely normal. That's actually part of the learning process. A lot of learners quit too quickly. They hear one difficult word and immediately think, this content is too hard for me. That mindset will slow your progress. Instead, learn how to use tools. Use Google Translate. Use dictionaries. Use subtitle tools. Pause the video. Replay difficult sections. Write down new vocabulary. Search meanings. Then listen again. That's how real progress happens. Language learning should be active. It should not be passive. Don't just sit there and think, oh no, I don't understand.
Take action. Pause. Learn. Replay. Practice again. That's exactly what I do when I learn languages. Right now, I'm learning Greek. And honestly, my Greek is far from perfect. But I challenge myself every single week. I listen to difficult content. Sometimes I listen to interviews between native speakers. Sometimes they speak very fast. Sometimes I understand very little at first. So what do? I pause the video. I rewind. I search for words. I replay sections multiple times. Sometimes one short video takes me an hour to finish. But that struggle helps me improve faster. And that's exactly what helped me when I was learning French too. Improvement happens when you challenge yourself. That's why many of my beginner videos are slightly harder than traditional beginner content. And yes, some people complain about that. Some people say, Connor, your beginner content is too difficult. But here's my honest opinion. If your learning material feels too easy all the time, you probably are not growing. You don't want to stay at A1 forever. You want to move to A2, then B1, then B2, then eventually fluency. That requires challenge. That requires effort. That requires patience. I try to speak clearly in these episodes.
I speak slowly. I use natural Australian-style English pronunciation. But I also include useful vocabulary so your English keeps improving. I don't want my content to sound like an old, boring school textbook. Real life English sounds natural, and that's what I want you to hear. Natural conversations, natural rhythm, natural pronunciation. That's how your listening improves faster. Now, let's talk about learners who are above beginner level. Maybe this episode feels very easy for you. Maybe you understand almost everything I'm saying. That's great. But it also means you need harder content. You need to challenge yourself too. That's why on English Podcast Lab, I create lessons for different levels. Some lessons are for beginners, some are for intermediate learners, and some are much faster and more advanced. As your English improves, your listening practice should become harder too. That's how growth works. I'm also thinking about doing live sessions in the future. In those live sessions, I would speak naturally at normal speed. You could ask questions, you could practice listening in real time, and we could create a more interactive learning experience together. I think that could be really fun, and it could help many learners improve faster. If that sounds interesting to you, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. At the end of the day, improving your English listening is simple. Listen consistently. Challenge yourself. Use tools. Stay active. Learn new vocabulary. And never be afraid of difficult content. Difficult content is often where the biggest growth happens. Keep showing up. Keep listening. Keep learning. And most importantly, be patient with yourself. English takes time, but if you stay consistent, your future self will thank you. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for listening today. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you subscribe to English Podcast Lab for more English listening practice, speaking lessons, and real-life English content. Take care, keep improving, and I'll talk to you in the next episode.